The first time I sensed something was wrong was the night the rain wouldn't stop. Thunder rolled low over the hills, and the lights flickered once before giving out completely. I sat on the couch, wrapped in my robe, my legs curled beneath me, and a glass of wine resting in my hand. The television had gone dark mid-movie, and now the only sounds were the storm tapping at the windows and the faint creaks of the old floorboards beneath the house's weight. I hadn't expected company that night. My husband, Michael, had left for a last-minute work trip to Chicago, and I thought I'd have the house to myself. I looked forward to these nights more than I cared to admit, quiet, indulgent hours where I could sip wine, lounge freely, and be someone softer than the wife I had to be during the day. But the solitude didn't last. I heard the footsteps first, slow, heavy, coming down from the second floor. Tyler, my stepson. He was Michael's child from his first marriage, and when I married into the family nearly 10 years ago, Tyler was still a moody teenager who barely spoke to me. But time changes things. He grew, taller, wiser, more observant, and he began to look at me differently. I pretended not to notice, though part of me always did. Maybe I liked being noticed. Maybe that was part of the problem. He stood at the base of the stairs, just at the edge of the shadows, his broad frame outlined by the occasional flash of lightning through the windows. He said nothing at first, just stared at me as though unsure if I were real. "Can't sleep?" I asked softly, sipping my wine. He stepped forward, barefoot and silent. "The storm's too loud." I gestured to the couch. "Want to sit?" He did, not beside me, but close enough to make me aware of him. He'd always been quiet, but tonight there was something else behind his silence. Something heavy. He didn't look like a boy anymore. Not with the way his shoulders curved forward when he sat, or the way his eyes held mine, like he was measuring the distance between us and considering whether to cross it. "I found something," he said suddenly. My heart didn't jump, not outwardly, but I felt it catch. "A phone," he continued. "The one behind the towels in the upstairs hall closet." I took a slow breath, trying to keep my face still. "That's an old phone. It doesn't even work anymore." "It works," he said simply. "And it's not that old. It had messages." My hand tightened around my glass. "I read them," he said. I turned toward him. "You had no right." He shrugged. "They were about my father." The room felt colder then, despite the humidity outside. "Tyler," I said carefully, "you misunderstood." "I didn't misunderstand anything," he replied. "You're planning to leave him. You've been talking to someone else. You're not who he thinks you are." The silence between us thickened. The rain outside grew louder, like the storm itself was leaning in to listen. He looked at me, really looked at me. I didn't tell him. My voice was barely a whisper. "Why not?" "Because I wanted to hear it from you." I stood, wrapping the robe tighter around my waist. My legs felt unsteady as I walked toward the window. I could feel his eyes on my back. "You think I'm a villain," I said quietly. He didn't answer. I turned. "You think I married your father for comfort, that I'm bored now and chasing after something else." "I don't know what to think," he said, "but you've been lying, and not just to him." I looked at him carefully. "To you?" He nodded. My voice lowered. "What do you want, Tyler?" He stood too now, taller than me, his body shadowed but present. "I don't want anything. I just want the truth." "You want the truth?" I stepped closer until there was only a sliver of air between us. "The truth is I made mistakes, but that doesn't make me dangerous." He held my gaze. "Then why are you so afraid of what I know?" I searched his face. His jaw was set, but something flickered in his expression. Not just judgment, curiosity. I could feel it in the way his breath slowed, the way his hand twitched at his side. I took the glass of wine and set it down gently. "Let's stop pretending this is only about him." His throat bobbed with a swallow. "What do you mean?" You don't watch me because you care about your father, I said. You watch me because you want to understand something you don't know how to name. His eyes darkened. That's not true. Isn't it? He stepped closer. If that's what you think, then maybe you are dangerous. For a long moment, neither of us moved. The air between us felt charged, like the thunder just before a lightning strike. I turned my face toward the window again, hoping the glass would cool my skin. I should go to bed, he said quietly. You should, I agreed, though my voice shook. He lingered another moment before turning and walking back up the stairs. I didn't follow. I stood there in the quiet house with my own pulse loud in my ears. But that was just the beginning. Over the next few days, Tyler didn't act like anything had changed. He went about his routines, helped fix the fuse box, made himself coffee in the mornings, and barely looked at me when Michael returned from his trip. But I could feel it every time I entered a room, the tension, the weight of what he knew pressing into every corner of the house. Then, one afternoon when Michael had left for a weekend golf trip and the house was quiet again, I found the burner phone on the kitchen counter, fully charged, unlocked, resting beside a note. I think we should talk. Tea. I found him outside, standing near the back fence. The wind pushed his hair across his forehead, and he didn't turn when I approached. I didn't want to threaten you, he said. I know. But you didn't deny anything either. I stood beside him, not touching, but near enough to hear his breath, because denying it wouldn't change what you read. Why didn't you leave him? Because I didn't want to disappear. Not until I was sure. He turned his head toward me. Sure about what? I looked at him, not as a mother, not even as a stepmother, but as a woman who had been seen in ways she hadn't expected, about what I really wanted. His jaw tensed, and now, I'm not sure anymore. He was quiet. Then he said something that stole the air from my lungs. If I asked you to stay, would you? I blinked. You don't mean that. I do, he said. Not for Dad. For me. You're playing a dangerous game, Tyler. He nodded. So are you. Something in his voice made my skin prickle. Not fear, but a terrible kind of understanding. That night I didn't sleep. And in the morning I knew what I had to do. I couldn't let him tell Michael. I couldn't let him destroy everything. So I called someone. Someone who still owed me favors. A woman I hadn't spoken to in years. She knew how to make things disappear. Not violently, not obviously. Just quietly. People left. Moved. Vanished. No questions asked. But when I gave her the name, she hesitated. He's your stepson, she asked. I'm not asking for anything dramatic, I said. I just want him gone. She agreed. The plan was set. But Tyler was smarter than I thought. That night, as I entered my room, he was already there, sitting on the edge of my bed. I know what you're planning, he said. My breath caught. Then you know why. He stood. You could have just told me the truth. I did. No, he said. You told me a version that suited you, but you never asked what I wanted. I reached out, touched his arm. Then what do we do? He looked down at my hand, then back at me. We keep the secret, together, like it never happened. Will you keep quiet? I asked. He nodded, but only if you promise me one thing. What? That you never lie to me again. I stared at him, knowing I'd already lost that battle, but I nodded. He stepped back, his face unreadable. Good night. He left, and I stood there, alone, wondering who had really won. And deep down, I feared the answer, because the truth was the son who knew too much wasn't just a threat. He was temptation, and the silence I gave him came with a cost I wasn't ready to face.